Summertime. I'm singing Sublime's Summertime, but I can't remember the words to it.
You keep singing it. When the weather's easy and the living's easy.
Because that was for me in the 90s. Da-da-da. I was living in Albuquerque, and Sublime was huge. And then he died of a drug overdose.
Yeah.
So we are starting the world-renowned summer series with Summer in the 90s.
Yes, we are.
If you were lucky enough to be with us for many years, you will know we did summer in the 80s. Now, the difference between summer in the 80s and summer in the 90s, Laura and I were kind of on the same playing field in the 80s, but by the 90s, I had aged.
Yeah.
So I was in my 20s. I was drinking alcohol legally. I was working a big girl job, and I was not in high school anymore. I graduated in 91, so the very beginning. And because I was older, I was grunge when I graduated. Like Pearl Jam was my jam. Nirvana, I can remember where I was when Kurt Cobain killed himself.
I told my mother she should not allow my sister to listen to it.
Oh, I was in my flannels, in my boots. I was all about the grunge. Soundgarden. Remember Clerks? Remember the movie Clerks? No, Laura's going to not remember any movie I'm
know
talking
the movie
about.
Clerks because he loved Mike.
Fantastic
loved the movie
soundtrack.
Clerks.
Fantastic soundtrack in Clerks. Yep. Fantastic soundtrack. And then there was the movie, I think it was Singles. It was all about Alice in Chains was in it. Soundgarden was. Yes. It was great. Loved it. So, graduate high school in 91, listening to grunge. Become an EMT. You're still in high school, Laura.
Yes, I was.
We're cruising down the beach, my off time in my red Grand Prix.
I actually wasn't even in high school at that time.
Oh, shut up. With the moonroof open, would be driving down the beach, which looks nothing like it did when I was driving down at 91. Bumper to bumper traffic. Everybody pulled head in with the trunks open, sitting in the trunks, driving by with our squirt guns. Tss, tss, tss. Get the guys get the girls. They'd sit for fucking hours in traffic, flirting, stop at Kelly's, chicken fingers. That's when there was only...
With the duck sauce.
Yeah, of course. Like
you just put it on every bite.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
So
I could drink the duck sauce.
Good.
That was when there was still only one Kelly's.
The original.
The only
the
Kelly's.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're talking about the 90s. 94, August 4th, 1994, a day that will live in infamy, was the day I started at our lovely facility.
Wow.
So we're going to talk a little bit about what healthcare was like when I entered the glorious halls of our facility. It was almost 90% male. There was hardly any female residents when I started.
Yeah.
And I look now in a room, and sometimes there'll be no men at all.
Yeah, it blows my mind every time I look around. I'll be like, there's not one man in
There's
here.
not one man. But when I started, it was all men. The way they spoke to you, they could call you retarded, stupid, dumbass, kick you out, scream at you, belittle you, humiliate you. I could go on and on and on. And you sat there and you took it.
Yep.
And then you just tried to make sure the next time you did a better job.
Right.
Because that's how sick the relationship was. Every case was open. We didn't do the only laparoscopic thing that was starting to take off was laparoscopic colectomies. I have to take my sweatshirt off. I'm melting. The gallbladders. That was it. Every appendix was open. Every G-tube was open. Every trach came downstairs and was open. Huge AAAs open, emergent off the elevator. Like, oh my God, it was my jam. Traumas, like, good shit. And there was no like, let's go to the CAT scan first. You just came up from the EW. No idea belly out, like shit everywhere. And when I started, one scrubbed everything. So you had a multi-trauma. You're talking, you were doing the X-fix, putting a bolt in, opening the belly, putting a chest tube in. You
did everything.
You were killing it. You were killing it. Sweating, fucking body parts everywhere. It was great. Oh, it was my jam.
It's a lot of sweat.
You were in high school.
But when I came in 98, it was the same way.
Yes, but you were in high school. Yeah. So I can remember going to see across the street. I had just started at the hospital. I turned 21 at that facility. And I went to see Green Day for free at the Hat Shell. So I go to the concert with my girlfriend, who's tiny and didn't know at the time, has raging anxiety. So we are in, it is packed. Like free concert for Green Day, it's packed. So we're walking through, and I can see she starts like losing her shit. Somehow we get near the front. The guy throws us over a rail. We end up like right in front of the stage. But as we're there, they're basically saying they're going to pull the plug on Green Day because the crowd's out of control.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's going to be ugly if they pull the plug. I can see what's going to happen. I don't know how the troopers couldn't figure out what was going to happen. And Billy Joel, what the hell's like Billy Joe? Who's the lead singer of Green Day?
Billy Joe. Yeah.
Billy Joe. He's up there and he's like, you guys got to calm down. They're going to kick us off, blah, 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 blah. Well, they did. By the grace of God, some like sound guy sticks us under the speakers. They start macing the crowd. People are fighting. Blood's everywhere. I'm like, holy shit. We got out of there without a scratch. I don't know how it happened. But that was in 94. It was a good time. That was my concert years where I saw Pink Floyd.
Ugh.
I discovered weed. I went to concert after concert after concert after concert. I had the time of my life. I moved to Hawaii. The 90s were such a wonderful time for me. I was not married in the 90s at all. I was still single in the 90s. It was a good time. All right. So I'm going to talk some medical shit that was going on in the 90s. Okay. Salaries in the 90s, which I think is kind of funny. So the average salary of a general surgeon in 1995, $225,000. Nurses at max pay now aren't far behind that.
No.
Anesthesiology, $203,000. OBGYNs, they made less. Why? I don't know. That it's not a pretty job. $200,000.
Yeah, I think they do make less.
Pathology, $185,000.
What?
$185,000.
Yikes.
ER meds, $170,000. We make more than the ER doctors did.
I mean,
internal medicine, $138,000. That's nothing.
They still don't make it.
No, they make peanuts. That's why nobody wants to do it.
I know.
And they're worked to death.
Yep.
Psychiatrists, $124,000.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That
they still don't make more than either. Yeah. Family practice, $124,000.
That's nuts.
No, it's nuts. So it gets into like, and I remember all this. When I started, we had top equipment, top everything. And then they started screwing with the insurance companies, all right? You know, Hillary came in and then it's just spiraled after her. Where we're at now is disgraceful. The equipment is crap. Those see-through towels they give us, they're crap. Everything we did was non-disposable, which this is what kills me too. We had metal basins, cloth drapes,
metal
cloth
trocars.
gowns, metal trocars, reusable instruments. Everything was reusable and you could clean it and you just restocked it. Now they took all of that away. You're worried about the environment. We're dumping plastic into the environment like crazy. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. So when I started, AIDS was still huge.
Yeah.
It was still terrifying if somebody came in with HIV, which now you don't even think twice about it.
Literally.
You don't think twice of somebody with HIV, Hep C. You would treat everybody the same. It's just universal precautions was just coming out. I worked with the nurses who bagged sponges with no gloves, who washed out suctions. Like the nurses that trained me were graduated in the 50s and 60s. They didn't know universal precautions. Right. They didn't know blood was dirty. So I can remember being in high school and Wayne's World had come out and I loved Queen. And I was like, oh, Freddie Mercury's going to come out. They'll come in concert. And like Freddie Mercury announces he has AIDS. I'm like, well, they'll do a farewell tour. Dead the next day.
Yeah.
Dead the next day.
He held on to the bitter end before he said
He did,
anything.
but he didn't tell anybody he
No,
had
that's what I'm
it.
saying,
And
before
when
he
you
said
look at
anything.
him, how did we not know he
know.
had it? He was skeletal when
I know.
in the last appearances, but rocked my world when he died. I was devastated. I'm still devastated that he died. 1991, I'm a senior in high school, and the Gulf War happens. And I've got, 8 cousins in the Marine Corps at the time, and they all go over. I can remember that Christmas. One of them called, my mother's, as we've talked about, huge family. The whole table's crying. And my Christmas Eves were huge. We're talking it was 50 people there. Every one of them's crying, passing the phone around. I'm like, that's what he wants to hear. A bunch of old ladies crying. Like, come on. But they were talking about Gulf War syndrome because of the burn pits. They started even back then. They've had burn pits in the Iraq 2003 wars. But in 91, they had them. And I had a cousin who went over. He went actually over after it ended for 6 months. He came back, and within 6 months, he had a cancer that was so aggressive on act, like he was doing bone marrow change. It was growing and it killed him within a year. He was 36 years old, like broke my heart. So a lot of the vets were dealing with that, but at that time they weren't acknowledging that that's what had gone on. So a lot of these vets did not get compensated for the cancers that they had, which broke my heart. They believe some of the symptoms come from like smoke from burning waste dumps, oil wells, the encountered a variety of paints and solvents that they went through. They were exposed to chemical and germ warfare, but they didn't have any protection against any of that stuff when they were over there. So these guys came back with horrific cancers.
And not for anything, they're like these young kids that don't know any. And they're probably, look at this, the burn pit. Let's throw this. They're probably not like
they're not thinking anything of what they're breathing in.
Because you do a fire here and you're not thinking about.
And they weren't wearing any kind of masks when they were breathing this in. They were talking about like the top causes of death in 1995.
Oh,
well, I think they're all the same here. I don't know, 20, 30. How many years has it been? 30?
I was a sophomore in high school in 1995.
30 years.
Yeah.
I had already celebrated a year at the facility. Yeah. Okay. Actually, I was living in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I was living in Hawaii in 90.
Nice.
Was I in Albuquerque? No, I was in Hawaii. No, I hadn't moved yet. Okay. Heart disease was number 1.
Yeah.
Cancer, number 2. Strokes. You came in with a stroke then.
Yeah,
you were fucked.
Glocked.
Now you get in within an hour.
Right.
These people like no
They're
effects.
talking
There's no
when we're
effects.
done, yeah.
It's crazy. Lung disease. I don't think that's changed because we've just substituted vapes for smoking.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody I just saw a thing on Facebook today because if it's on Facebook, it's 100% true, right? Popcorn lung and this young girl from vaping.
Yeah.
Like these kids are vaping and thinking nothing of it. It's probably more dangerous. Accidents. That could be anything. That was number whatever. Flu and pneumonia. Still up there.
Wow. Well,
that was
it kills all
6,
the oldies.
Flu and pneumonia, yep. Diabetes, still up there. HIV and AIDS.
That's definitely way down.
In 95, for the year, 43,000 people had died. But
wow.
There was an AIDS statistic in here, which I really should have read. It was about like how many people... By 1995, like 20 million people had died of AIDS. It was a crazy number.
It was so insane.
Right.
Like
Remember when Tom Hanks came out with Philadelphia?
Yeah.
That was a huge movie.
I loved that movie.
I don't think I've ever watched it, but that was a big deal.
It's so good.
Yeah.
One of the 10 movies I've ever seen. It's so
But
good.
you have to remember too, so suicide was high, liver disease was high. 90s, like it was so different than the 80s because it was like the 80s, everybody was still living in La La Land. In 90s, it was like starting to hit you in the face, the shit that had happened. And I try to explain this to my kids. They don't understand it because they weren't raised the same way. And I'm not saying it was right.
Yeah.
Now, I have an older brother who was gay. He came out in 91. It went over like a lead balloon.
Yeah. Especially then.
This is my point. It was still kind of like in the 90s. So if you had AIDS or anything.
Well, that's like because you have, don't touch me or it's so awful.
Yeah. I mean, it was still like a taboo to be gay in the 90s. And they can't see that now because now you can be whatever you want.
Right.
And it's just, I'm like, yeah, well, things were different then. Yeah. That's all I can say to them is things were different then. So yeah, that was some of the health stuff they had. They were talking about, remember Dolly the sheep?
Oh, yeah.
Cloning?
Yes.
Yeah. I will say I'm glad we haven't cloned humans yet.
Yeah.
We know
it's
of.
coming.
That we know of.
Right. I mean, I could be a clone right now.
Oh, Laura, that would be really upsetting to me.
It would be.
I would like to think I had the OG Laura.
I was going to say, and that'd be two of me.
I'd be very upset if you were a clone. Oh, I could use a couple of me. Wouldn't the world love to have more than one
that's
of me?
all we need.
So, yeah, Dolly the sheep, and everybody was panicked that we were going to start cloning humans. And, that would be very upsetting. Though I would clone my pets if I could. I just wonder, like, what'd you get?
I feel like you're going to get a Cujo. If you start cloning them, you're going to get a Cujo.
Like Pet Cemetery, you bury them in the background.
Like, I just feel like it's not going to end well.
Well, like, I guess it's just identical, right? But is it really like the same personality?
But you screwing around with it. Like, I don't know. I
don't like all the shit they do.
No,
I don't like picking babies' eyes before they're done, picking the baby's sex. Like, I don't like that shit. No. I can understand getting in there and fixing detrimental diseases that these kids could potentially be born with, but I don't think we should be getting designer kids. Like, you get what you get and you don't get upset. Right. All right? That's how it works.
I saw something today. They're going to use dinosaur DNA.
No.
To create dinosaur leather handbags.
No.
Why would I want a Brontosaurus bag? What is it, the fucking
Because
Flintstones?
you know what? These people we talked about last episode with all this money are going to be like, well, we'll just make a little one. We'll just make a little dinosaur.
I want a Triceratops, whatever.
We'll make it a mini. We'll just make it, we'll breed it with this.
But why do we have to do that? We have alligators.
Right.
Alligators are prehistoric.
Yes.
Just fucking kill them. There's a million of them.
It is a dinosaur,
Crocodiles.
pretty much.
Exactly. They're prehistoric.
Yeah.
Why would I want a bag from Brontosaurus leather? That's just bizarre.
Someone's gonna make a real one.
Yeah. And then we're going to be in Jurassic Park.
Yes.
We're all going to be killed by
Just
velociraptors.
stop doing this stuff.
Some weird shit.
They're
Some weird
extinct for
shit.
a
Somebody's
reason.
thought it. Somebody's tried it.
Ugh.
Where did you read that shit? Was that on Facebook?
Maybe Instagram.
Instagram.
okay.
So it's true. You know it's 100% true. But I'll tell you, if some moron shoots themselves up into space and they have a Brontosaurus bag, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah,
I'm going to lose
it's
it.
happening
All right.
soon.
I'm done. I'm
happening.
just going to end it.
Guided by AI.
Guided by AI. That's another thing. That's another thing.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about this shit in the 90s, all right? I didn't have to worry about it. We were old school. Everything was on fucking paper. I barely had a phone. I mean, we're talking early 90s. We still had the bag
You
phones.
had Terminator and Jurassic Park, and you would think that would be like, hey, don't do
Yeah,
this.
nope.
It warned you against this stuff.
Nope.
It was like literally a movie to be like, don't do it.
Yeah.
This would be stupid.
So, Laura, tell me your version of the 90s. I mean, I have more to say because I was traveling in the 90s and I was having the time of my life,
Yeah,
but
no,
I'm talking I was 25.
Grade school, and then I was in middle school, and then I was in high school.
You're a New Kids fan. We
I
know
was
you.
a huge New Kids fan. I'm still
Did
a
you
New
wear the big
Kids fan.
buttons?
Of course, I had the big buttons. They were frames as well. The back popped out, and you could put it on your bureau.
So you're wearing a picture on your, like a picture, like an 8 by 10 on your chest.
No, it was round.
Yes, but
and then it had the little thing in the back. And then you had
You
the
know
little
what?
buttons to go around it. You had to offset.
I was this age when I found out those big obnoxious buttons became picture frames.
Yeah, you left them on your bureau, but then if you were going out, you put them on your jean jacket.
Oh, you didn't do that. Pearl Jam didn't have those.
No
Nirvana
one wanted
didn't
to
have
wear a
those.
Pearl Jam button.
Are you kidding me? I would have screwed Eddie Vedder
Ugh.
all day long.
Ugh.
All day. I'd still have sex with him.
The thought of Pearl Jam makes me want to vomit. I can't
loved
stand
him. Love Creed. I listened to Creed too, but that guy was weird.
it. You should admit that.
I think I saw them 3 times.
You should
Stone
not
Temple
admit that.
Pilots 3 times.
Creed and Stone Temple Pilots are very different beasts.
Remember all of them in the 90s? Heard that voice. They all sang like that. You see
Yeah,
that?
Creed's bad.
I was an STP guy, not Creed, though.
I liked Creed. I'm not gonna lie, I did.
Yeah, no,
Saw
you
them at the
said
House
it
of
right
Blues in
out.
Myrtle Beach. I
Wow.
did. I liked it. I like Nickelback too. What? Said it out loud.
Oh my
Saying it out loud.
Yikes.
But I loved STP. Like they were my top.
I didn't listen to that until like the 2000s.
Oh God, no. He was dead by then, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I only listened to it because he listened to it.
Oh God,
Will we see them?
I saw them 3 times too.
I don't know.
I-
You
I've-
think I remember
I've
if
seen
we?
them multiple times. I thought maybe.
I don't know.
Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull,
Oh.
STP, Stone, the Rolling Stones, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam, Creed. God, who else did I saw a million? I had my Alanis Morissette tickets, but then I moved to Hawaii.
I still can't
But
get over that. You
Radiohead
liked
was-
her.
Radiohead was playing, and I wanted to see them too.
I still
God,
can't
give me some of the '90s bands I saw.
I like.
I tried to go.
New Kids, obviously.
Yeah,
LL Cool J.
I did like it a lot.
TLC.
I had my hip hop
Yeah.
side because when I was in Revere Beach, you didn't listen to Creed on the
No,
beach.
you couldn't. That would be
it would be a
mortifying.
sacrilege.
Yeah, I wouldn't listen to it at all. Like if someone went to turn it on, I was like, no, 94.5. Put
Oh,
it back
God.
on 94.5. I can't. Don't put on 104.1. Don't put on 107.3. 94.5 all the time. We went to the jamming
104.1
concerts.
was BCN then.
Jamming concerts.
Oh, yeah.
Jamming
94.5
bumper sticker on
jamming,
my butt. Yeah. I think my mother drove me to Great Woods. Whitney Houston.
Oh yeah, I didn't see her.
I saw her. I love Whitney Houston. Boys to Men.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the
So
none of
good.
them. I went if I was going to a concert. As soon as the lights went, and this is before phones, the lighters came out and the weed went up. Like the whole place would stink, no matter who we were seeing.
Yeah.
I saw some good concerts though.
I hate all those concerts.
Oh, Pink Floyd was one of the best.
I saw the Rolling Stones because I worked at, it was the Fleet Center.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most boring thing I've ever
you
seen
don't
in
like
my
the music.
I know some of their songs. They literally like,
They don't move. They're 90.
don't move. I'm like, who's singing this? You could just listen to it on the radio. They're not
Want to
moving.
know
They're not-
one of the best shows I ever saw? Ricky Martin.
I bet that was
He
awesome.
brought down the garden.
I bet that was
Ricky
awesome.
Martin. I was shaking La Vida Loca up there. It was
I bet that was
amazing.
good.
Oh,
You've been to a few New Kids though.
I have been.
And they are good.
They're good. They would be better if I knew the music because,
Yeah.
you know, I was way too old at the time. Though everybody that goes now thinks they're going to sleep with these guys who are also in their 50s.
I do not think that.
I
just
don't
go
either,
'cause
but
I love
you've been.
Oh, some of them, yes.
These women
100%.
think
The
Jordan's
women
coming
down
off
the-
stage and having sex with them. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
So yeah.
I met LL Cool J.
Oh,
My mother drove me to Strawberries in Boston
strawberries.
because he was doing a signing.
Oh, I like Blondie.
And I wanted to die. He was so cute. And
Oh,
he
he's
was
adorable. He's cute now.
Oh,
and he's
I
got that
loved
way.
him.
Well,
oh, so cute. Doing it and doing it and
doing it well.
I loved LL Cool J.
All right, like alcohol in the 90s. Do we want to talk about
Zima?
Yeah, that's all I fucking drank. Couldn't do. Remember they used to put the fucking grape shit in it or the Chambord. They put something in it to make it sweeter.
In Zima?
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes.
No, I just remember the bottles of Zima.
Oh, I loved Zima because I'm not a
hated
beer
Zima.
drinker and I didn't want to be drinking grape crushes all night.
I loved a grape crush. I did love a grape crush.
Grape crushes, sex on the beach.
Yeah.
Remember Bud Ice?
Oh, yeah. Budweiser.
See, it's okay if I drank this because I was a little
In
kid.
high school,
So
yeah.
it's okay.
Well, I was just into my 20s. I wasn't an established alcoholic yet, but I did love my Zimas. And if I was out like dancing, though, I didn't even bother with any kind of drink like that. I just did shots.
Yes.
Then I dance. Then I come back and do a shot. Go out and dance. Come back and do a shot. Go out and dance. And kept it going on.
A lemon drop.
Buttery
nipple.
Buttery nipples were amazing. Lemon drops. I still do lemon drops.
I do like
I will
lemon drop.
still do lemon drops today. The limoncello.
Yeah,
Your son
it's
brought
pretty
back
much
from
a
Greece
lemon drop.
would still be a great lemon drop.
Yeah.
I love me some lemon drops. So yeah, we the big clubs in Boston, Axis, Avalon,
I
Avenue
did
C.
go to Axis because Axis I could go to after 1998. So I went to Axis.
I can't. When did you turn 21? I might. My heart might
99.
break. My heart. Yeah,
99?
my
No.
heart's breaking as you speak.
No,
I turned
2000. 2000 I got.
Fuck, Laura.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
it
like,
would have
wait a
been
minute, no, that's right.
1999 because you were born in 79. No. Oh,
Yeah, that would be
21.
21.
Ouch.
Yeah, I was
I was closer to
in
30.
the 2000s.
Yeah.
I was in this century.
Wow.
Yeah.
I turned 21 in the late 1900s. Thanks a lot. That hurt. That was very hurtful, Laura.
Sorry.
the late 1900s.
The late
That sounds so
1900s.
Well, when I
Does
say
it?
something at work,
I say that to people at work all the time. I was like, well, I'm sorry. I started here in the late 1900s.
It's like the 1800s.
Yeah. That's what you tell them. And because half of the friggin' residents were born in this
2000s.
century.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, honey, I
I'm like,
started here in the late
they're
1900s.
like, when did you start here? I'm like 1990. They're like, they whip their heads so fast.
Because
I'm like,
they think we're so young.
I know.
That's what it really is.
they're like, how could you possibly be working? You were an infant.
Yes. Oh, clearly. I started here when I was 10. Somebody said that to me. Like, you want us to start when you're 11? I'm like, absolutely. They let me scrub when I was 11.
Yeah. I mean, it was close. I was 19.
I was 20.
Yeah.
I was 20. It has stolen my youth.
Oh, it's taken
It has
everything from me.
stolen my youth.
like
It
having
has
a-
left me a shell of a nasty old woman. That's what it has done. But I'm down to now 10 years till
Look at
retirement. Yeah. And then my youth will come back on the inside.
Will it? You'll just.
On the inside, I'll be a happy person again. The other thing we were talking about, which you may or may not remember, in Antarctica, they had the doctor who had breast cancer. She diagnosed herself in Antarctica.
Oh, I do remember that.
So that was in 1999.
What?
Yeah, March of 1999.
That was that late?
47-year-old Jerry Nielsen discovered a lump in her right breast. In June, after telling the rest of the crew that station about her condition, she began corresponding, obviously via satellite, with Indiana University. Because of the winter, she couldn't be evacuated from the stations, and they had to help her with all the tests she needed to do to see where she was. So in July, on a dangerous and challenging mission, Air Force C-141 Starlifter made a 15-hour round-trip flight from New Zealand and airdropped medical supply for diagnosis and treatment, including chemo drugs. She then directed the crew members through the procedure. Like
I was going to say, she did her lumpectomy.
she did her own lumpectomy.
Yeah.
Digital microscopic images of the lump cells were transmitted by video back to the cancer specialist in the United States. They confirmed the diagnosis of breast cancer, and they begin to give her chemo drugs. Imagine being on chemo stuck in the fucking Antarctic. It's as bad as being on space. Why do people
pretty much
do
the
this
same
shit?
place.
I don't know. Why do you do this? Why? What moron thinks this is fun?
I
We
mean, I
go
can
where
almost.
it's dark for 6 months. So although the tumor shrank, it then began to grow. her doctors urged that she be evacuated as soon as possible. And along with another ailing member of the crew, they agreed to a daring rescue mission. So on October, this was in March, 6 months later, after several missions were delayed because of the weather. So how long was she staying at this fucking station?
I think they stay there for years.
Why?
Research.
Did you ever watch, it's a show where they're like living up in the bush in Alaska?
Oh, yes.
You ever see that weird ass
when they're
woman,
completely
Susan,
alone, like,
and she like maintains an airstrip like in the Arctic Circle all by herself. She calls herself a Susical if she were to get stuck outside. She's a nut job and lives all by herself.
Yeah.
For 9 months.
I can't.
All by herself. Yeah. If you break a leg, what are you going to do?
You die.
You're going to die.
I don't want a broken leg.
I don't hate humans that much. Humans suck, but I don't hate them that much. No. I'm sorry.
No.
And you couldn't give me enough cats to keep me entertained by myself for 9 months. They can't speak.
They would eat you.
Well, they can. But
in that long, they would eat you.
If I died, they would eat me.
I think after a little while.
If I broke my leg and I couldn't get out, they would eat me.
They would.
Okay. So after the delays in weather, the crew landed, picked up the pair, and dropped off replacement physician.
Oh.
I think that's the one who had to take their own appendix out. Back in the United States, she underwent a mastectomy, and I guess she's doing well.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. This thing went back and forth. Like, here it is talking about her, and then it jumps into a completely different article. Okay. And then breast implants. Do you remember the debacle? All the breast implants were exploding. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this would be the late 1900s.
Yes. Do you remember? I remember doing that. Like, people would come in and we'd be like, oh, we have to replace these because they blew up. Oh, we have to replace these because they blew up. Like, we were doing it all the time.
They were getting sicknesses from the silicone and people freaking out. And even now, I mean, that was not that long ago, but 35 years ago. People will still be like, is there silicone in that? Because they get nervous because it was such a huge deal.
And now we never do that.
No.
Like, it's always saline.
I've never seen them. But they are putting silicone back because it's more natural feeling.
Yeah.
Because of my huge silicone in breasts right now. No, but they capsulate. We should do that too. Yeah. So if the scar tissue will go around it, and like these women have to like
break the
capsules or massage. Like one woman got in a car accident and like broke the capsules because it hardens and then they don't look right and feel right. Anytime you put something in your body that you weren't born with, it's going to try to get rid of it, whatever it is, or encapsulate it. Like it's amazing how the body works. Right. It really is.
It's just going to cover that with tissue. So
then they get hard. Yeah. And then they look like basketballs.
They literally
look like
balls.
Like you can see the actual, like I say, I've been watching TV like implants. Like, how do you know? She got this huge gap.
Because no one's boobs
Real boobs are in your armpits when you're laying down. No. And when you lay up, they all go together. You look like one big uni boob half the time when you're in your 50s anyway. No matter what you're wearing for a bra. Mike really doesn't give a shit about this, but I'm telling you, I know you do. I know. No, that's good. But you don't get the uni boob thing. Like if you're into sports bra, it's just one big literally massive tissue. Yeah. It's bizarre.
But theirs always have a line and they don't go back.
And when they lay down, they stay straight up on their chest. Like some lady, she was in her 70s, clearly had implants because she's laying on the OR table and her boobs were as perky as I was at 20. And I'm like, clearly fake. They should be in her armpits.
Yeah. That's what happens with gravity.
Yes. Yeah. I can remember Vienna asking me when she was 6, Mom, where do your boobs go when you lay down? I'm like, in my armpits where everybody else's go, Vienna. You'll see someday. And I'll laugh at her after she has kids. I'll laugh at her about that. All right. So you started at our place when?
98.
Mm-hmm. And where were we at then? Were we still doing everything open, or were we doing lap appies?
We were doing lap appies, and they had just started doing lap colectomies.
Oh.
So we were just starting to take bowel out laparoscopically, and it was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
And one time, I've told this story, I was in another room, and I had an orientee with me, and the woman who used to run the general surgery service was like, oh, dear, I need you to go to 42.
Everybody was dear love because she couldn't remember anybody's name.
I need you to go to 42. And we're doing one of those laparoscopic colectomies. So and I'm like, okay. And she's like, everything's open.
And this is with the trocars that were non-disposable.
Yeah. And everything's open. And the right trocars are, we have the trocars for this because they were different trocars than we would use for lap chole. And she's like, everything's all set. I just need you to go in there and scrub because they put the case in there. I'm like, okay. And it was one of the doctors that was
insane.
And
nice guy, but insane.
Oh, lovely, except
But when
for
he turned on
he
you,
lost
it was like a rabid dog.
So I'm like, okay. So I go in there and I have my RT with me, and we, it was all, I can't remember if it was set up, but it was at least open, and then we're starting the case. He puts all the trocars in. Now, this is brand new, so I don't know the trocar. Like, they were new trocars. He puts them all in, and then he goes to put the instruments in, and they don't fit through the trocars. Like the stapler or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, these don't fit. I'm like, oh, okay. These are what they gave me. I'm like, all right, we'll get new trocars, whatever. And he literally takes every single instrument out and just flings it across the room. Then he takes every trocar out and flings them across the room. And the orientee was standing up there. I'm like, come around this side of the table. She's like, what? I'm like, come over this side of the table.
Get away.
She's going to get hit. And I'm like, come over here. And she's like, oh, okay. So she comes to the back of the table with me. He's throwing everything. And then we had the metal basins, and he's standing in the metal basin, and he's has his hands in it. He just starts punching the bottom of the metal basin, like screaming.
So it's making quite a noise as well.
Oh, it is so loud. No one is doing anything because, like, what are you going to do?
And
I'm like,
to let him run it out.
I need the other trocars. Someone please get me the right
Now?
trocars. Yeah. It was a nightmare. But they were literally just, like, you didn't even know what these trocars were because we would just
They still show up in the kits. Nobody uses them, but we still got them.
I know.
He is the same surgeon. And these were his words, not mine. So if anybody's offended, I apologize. These were his words. Okay. I don't know what I did. And he looked at me and he goes, did you go to the school for the retarded? I was like, what? He goes, did you go to the funeral school? I'm like, no, I did not. He's like, what the fuck is this? And he was like throwing it back at me. I'm like, oh my God, you could never say that shit now.
No, nor should you.
One of the surgeons got so mad. I mean, they don't have these anymore either. We used to have the x-ray boxes on the wall, and they'd come in and slip the x-ray up. He got so mad, he slammed his head and shattered the x-ray box. Like, people have no idea. And this is nothing compared to what the nurses who trained us were doing.
Right.
Like, these guys got away with now. They don't even want to say, like, they're like, and I laugh.
They don't say anything. I'm like, they're not doing that right. And they're like, well, I can't say anything.
Right.
I'm like, but they're not doing it right. You know, we can't say anything. But you don't have to say anything mean, but you could just say, could you please do it like this?
But they won't say anything.
No,
because
nothing.
No.
Yep.
So it's quite a change.
Yep. And I did the gastric bypasses every Friday with a specific surgeon.
And he was the tiniest little
my God.
man.
It looked like he was crawling inside of these people. And you had to hold his legs. You had to be like extremely large to get a gastric bypass.
Yes.
Then, like,
we're talking 400 or 500
pounds.
Yeah.
Like, they were really large people, and he was literally 3 feet tall, and he was on 18 stands, those high stands. Remember those high stands? And he would look like he was crawling inside of them.
Literally, he was like 4'11".
And was so small. And we'd do them every Friday, and he'd like do 2 or 3. And I remember them. We did them open, like they were a huge case. I loved doing them. And then I remember them talking about while we were in there, like, oh, we were in the lab with the pig because they were learning to do them laparoscopic.
Oh my!
And that was like
only
98, 99. Like, that was later, and they were just learning to do it. I'm like, I haven't seen an open one
ever
since then.
Yeah. Oh, I can remember being, oh God, I don't even know what year it was, but they were preparing for the first stent placement in an aorta.
Oh yeah.
You would have thought we were, I don't know, splitting twins.
Yeah.
There was so much equipment, and the stents were like 20 feet long, and we're going to do this new thing. And to think, I laugh all the time to think about how big of a deal it was, and now it's nothing.
Yeah, it's like that's all they do.
I remember one of the coolest things I ever had seen, and I probably have talked about this before. They had a guy come in, and I don't know if he had early set Parkinson's. He was a young guy. I don't know what he had, but he had massive, massive tremors. And it was the tiny little neuro room in the Jackson. Well, tiny little neuro room. So he is awake while they're operating on him. So that blew my mind to begin with.
Yes.
So they're in his brain, and he's wide awake, and he's trembling, and they've got a little stimulator, and they're hitting the spots. And as they're hitting it, the tremor's going away, and they're having him touch his nose, and like they cured his tremor.
Right.
Now we do that all the time.
All the time.
Stimulators go in, nothing. And I'm like,
Just
oh my
battery
God,
change
I was part of like the research on this.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. No. And I feel like one of the old nurses we used to work with, I'd ask her for an instrument. She'd be like, oh, we don't have that, but we have this. And she'd pull out something from 1811, blow off the dust, and be like, I got these stone forceps that are made out of stone, but could you use these? And I'd be like, where the fuck did you get that? Did you dig that up in the graveyard in the back? I feel like them now.
Yeah.
Do you want some Montgomery straps? Like
That no one knows what we're talking about. Literally, recently I was like, you know what we need? Montgomery straps. This patient needs Montgomery. And they were all looking at me. I'm like, Montgomery straps. You lace them up, put it over the dressing. They're like, what?
So
like,
when we used to get these big traumas in, and they'd leave the belly open. Now, if you leave a belly open on a trauma, they put in this huge vac dressing. It's like a drain sponge thing. Well, then we didn't have vac dressings. So you'd pack it full of sponges. Then you'd put a bunch of Acrylics. And then you throw ABDs over it. And it looked like a corset that stuck to the sides of the abdomen. And then you'd
shoelace.
You'd shoelace it together. Yeah. And you'd tie a little bow. And then this way they could keep going in and out of the belly and changing the dressings. Nobody would know what Montgomery.
No, literally no one. I just said it recently, and then I also said like, oh, we didn't have that, so we would do, we'd put a bunch of lap pads, and then we'd put some drains in, and then we'd take an X-ray cover and stab holes in the X-ray cover, and then put that down on the sides.
Well,
over
the IV
bowels.
bags would split the IV bags open,
and then you'd put an IO band over it, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, it caused suction," and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, that was the vac dressing," and they're like, oh my goodness, like, oh my God.
Or when we actually closed them, they would use these whomping nylons, and then you'd have to cut rubber bolsters.
Yes,
so the nylon. And you'd have to make a little hole for them so they could thread it and tie the knot.
Yes.
And the bolster was to keep the knots from going through the skin.
Right.
So you would have to cut all these bolsters. I mean,
I forgot
that's what scrubbing was scrubbing. Because while they're closing, you're loading this shit up.
Right.
And cutting your bolsters and put little holes so they can put all the stuff through. Yep. It was wild.
Not recently, like last year or something, one of the doctors that's been there for a long time was like, oh, I gotta do this, whatever. It was like a random case he had to do, and he doesn't do them a lot anymore because I don't think they do them anymore. I think they go up to IR and put drains in. And he was like, and he said to the scrub, I need stuffed Penroses.
Oh,
and I was like,
Penroses.
So they call out to the desk. They're like, he's asking for a stuffed Penrose, and I was like, oh, yeah, honey, stuffed Penrose. You put a sponge in the Penrose, and they were like,
we don't even have the Penroses for it anymore.
They're terrible.
They're terrible.
And the sponges are terrible.
Yes.
So I go down there, and it was an experienced scrub that was down there, so I was surprised, but they hadn't done this. And they were like, what am I doing? I'm like, get the sponge stick. Now
I used to use a Coker sometimes.
Well, so I now put the Penrose up on the arms of the sponge stick, and I'm like, now twist the sponge, and then pull the Penrose down, and he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, and they're going to stuff that in like a drain. And he's
my God, he would come in and he'd look at your table, not enough, and to stuff these fucking Penroses was a bitch.
And I'm saying pull it down, but it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy. It was
he'd want them tight.
Yes.
And he'd want 20 of them. And this patient would leave with 20 fucking sponges popped out of the abdomen.
In drains.
But they worked.
They did.
They worked.
It was like a random, I forget what he was, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen a stuffed Penrose in so long. And they're looking at me like, what do you want me to do? And now they're so crappy.
Yeah.
I was like, you need another one in there.
Because they're all latex free. And nobody had latex free then.
The sponges.
Yes.
Like they're so flimsy. You needed I'm like, you're going to have to put another one in there. Sorry. You're going to have to do another one.
Remember the gloves with the powder?
Oh, yeah. I liked those though.
What was I going to say about the stuffed Penroses? Because, I had an emergency in one of the rooms. Patients like hemorrhaging from the neck. So I come in there like, they're going to do a trach. Scrub looks at me. She's like, I've never done a trach. We did trachs all the time.
Yeah.
So I look at the surgeon. I'm like, you want a Mort swivel? He's like, what? I'm like, you want a Mort swivel? And he's like, you know what that is? Honey, I'm fucking old. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we used to use them all the time.
They'd scream if you wasn't on the table. Yeah. You need a hook, a spreader, and your Mort swivel. You know? In the trach, of course. But if I had a dime for every person I've had to walk through a trach, here's the operator. They need to know where the operator is. You're going to tape that to the chart. You're going to let anesthesia know. You're going to let the doctor. You're going to let everybody in the room know where that operator is so that nothing happens. So it's just things we did all the time. We were talking about, like, I could do
forgot about those bolsters.
The bolsters. Oh my God, I hated them.
Yeah.
I could do an open appy in my fucking sleep.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I still want an open appy.
And you just with the blade. Remember you would tap the tip of the blade.
They'd swoop, bring it out, a little purse string around with a chromic. Boop. There's only one surgeon that does there was no staplers.
No.
So every anastomosis on the human body was hand sewn. They wouldn't know how to do a hand sewn anastomosis if their life depended on it.
It blows my, because it's so, and honestly, we rarely do them anymore now, but it's in your head. 3-0 silk pops, 3-0 chromic, 3-0 silk pops,
and then 3-0 silk.
Like it's so,
when they went to Vicryls instead of silks, I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
I was beside myself.
Yeah. Like, no, this isn't how you do it.
No.
And you'd snap the ones on the end. Like, it was just the same thing all the time. And I'm
So I will say, for the patients, all of these innovations are great. For the scrubs,
awful.
it sucks. It's so boring to scrub now
because he
compared
was
to what we
so
did.
part of it. And I said that to one of the robot PAs. And I forget there's like a microphone on the robot. The surgeon's over at the robot. And I said something. I'm like,
You just say this guy sucks.
I was like, I hate robots. And he's like, and the PA's like, oh, really? No, I'm forgetting. And he's like, oh, really? I'm like, it's, you know what? I'm sure it's great. And I'm sure it's wonderful for the patients. I said, it takes the scrub so far out of the surgery. I said, you're sitting here for 3 hours doing literally nothing. I said, there used to be like an art to surgery, to scrubbing. Like
none of them know it anymore.
And it was like smooth. And now it's all jumbled up and no one knows like how to grab it because the surgeons aren't really, they don't know how to do it anymore. The scrub doesn't know how to hand it, right? Because you're not doing it all the time. And I'm like, it used to be literally like boom, boom, boom.
It'd be
boom,
like
boom, boom.
an opera,
Yeah.
like a ballet watching. You had the right surgeon. You
Yep.
didn't even have to. You boom, boom. And I get angry
When
when
they
we're
ask.
doing a hand sewn because this one surgeon still does it, and they're asking like, "Yeah, I know. You need 16 of these, and then you're gonna do the Chromix. I got it, you know." But they don't know. I know.
No, I
They
know.
never see me.
Yeah.
Triple A's off the elevator. Oh, it's my jam.
I was on orientation and I'm in 33 and we were doing like a toe-in and they called in the vascular room and someone came in and was like, we'll get an emergency AAA off the elevator going to 36. And they were like, okay, they're like, we'll switch teams. Like, cause I was with the vascular team. So we went in there and it was
Wild.
And they, cut down
Blood
the
everywhere.
compressor.
Yeah.
Like it was blown. Like, I mean, now we really get that because they put in a stent or they go up through the groin. So you're not getting that like,
Oh my
volcano
God. You could see
of
it pulsing
blood.
on the belly
Yep.
when they would come in. Oh, I miss those days.
Yeah.
There was some good stuff.
Yeah. I'll
There was some
never,
good
like,
stuff.
I can vividly remember that because it was like they threw the aortic compressor in there, but it was.
They don't even know what the aortic compressor
I know
is
it.
anymore.
They're like this thing. I'm like, that's an aortic compressor.
You need to know what that is. It's like we're ancient though. We're like,
know.
you need. No, they don't.
Yeah, they're
no,
like, why?
They
I've done 1,000 of these and I've never seen that.
What was the counts? We didn't count instruments.
No.
Remember, we didn't count anything. We
Nope.
just counted our little sponges.
Yep.
And I was very happy in those days. We didn't count needles.
No, they had a paper bag for their prolapse.
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
cardiac.
Boom, boom. It was so easy back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started traveling. I was travel nursing in the 90s, and that's when they paid for everything. I just showed up. They gave me a set of keys, and I walked in.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And now they have to like find it.
You had to see some of the furniture that they gave us.
I probably wouldn't be sitting for the 3
It
months I
looked
was
like
there.
Miami Vice in California. Like my bed lit up and it had a mirror.
Oh, wow.
And my cousin came to visit me, who's from California. He builds furniture. I had never met him till this trip.
Yeah.
Clearly doesn't know my sarcasm, and he was not raised in Boston, so he doesn't know Boston sarcasm. So the apartment's not big, and he'd show him around. I'm like, is this not the most beautiful furniture you've ever seen in your life? And he's like, yeah, it's nice. I'm like, my bed lights up. Do you want me to show you? And
It vibrates.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm like, I'm kidding.
It's awful.
It's the worst shit. I can peel the wood off of the edge of it. Like, are you kidding? This is shit. And he's like, oh my God, I thought you were serious for a second. I'm like, no, Joe, it's shit. All right. I know it's shit, and I'm embarrassed to be in this place.
Yeah. It's not mine.
It's not mine, but we had a good time traveling. I had a lot of fun. I think it would be easier to travel then because it was all open.
They did everything.
Everything was-
And they did everything for you, apparently.
Well, the apartments,
Yeah.
yes. I wouldn't want to have to go look for an
No.
apartment now, and everything was paid. Like, you just showed up.
Right.
Of course, my apartment in Hawaii was full of cockroaches, geckos, and termites,
Yeah.
and I didn't know enough to say, I'm not living here.
Yeah.
So I suffered through 4 months in that place. And you know how I am with bugs.
Yeah. I do think you're right, though. Like, because the cases, everything was always,
It's the
you
same.
couldn't have done it that much different.
No, it was the same.
Yeah.
They may have called things different.
And
but,
we use schnitz. No one else uses schnitz.
Right.
But
but
okay,
they
they
call
use
them
snaps.
tonsils. I knew, or
Yeah.
snaps. Like I told you, I go to Hawaii and I was in a tiny little hospital on a tiny island. They don't get emergencies, but this guy came in and they couldn't ship him out fast enough. So we're doing this case and I'm like, I need Hanks. And the circuit lady's standing there. I'm like, I need Hanks. And she's looking at me. I'm like, did you not hear me?
Yep.
She's like, I don't know what Hanks are. I'm like, oh, I need lap pads because we used to call them Hanks. I'm like, I need lap pads. I'm sorry. She's like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm like, but you know what? I should have
should've
had to
known,
explain
yeah.
because she could see I'm running out of sponges here. Like you,
This.
yeah. See these big white things he's packing in 12 at a time. Could you give me about 50 more of these?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good time. She's just staring at me. I'm like, hello, can you hear me? Earth to you. So Cameron calls me yesterday. He's living in Hawaii at the moment. And Hawaii is gorgeous. Hawaii is beautiful. Hawaii is tropical. What comes with tropical?
Bugs.
Bugs. Lots and lots of bugs. So he said, I was on the phone with him when he went to Subway. He's like, I went to Subway and he's like, I ate a little bit. I put it down. I played games for a little bit and went back to it. He goes, it just didn't taste right. He goes, and I spit it out and it was covered in bugs.
Oh.
My whole sandwich was covered in bugs.
Ah.
I was like, I'm sorry, what? He goes, Mom, like, I mean, he can be gross. I know he can, but he's like, it was not, it had been 2 hours. He's like, there's these little black bugs all over the apartment. I said, well, then you need to report them. Where are they coming from? Right. So he's like, well, and I can see him doing this because this is the same kid that watched a chicken lay 2 eggs. He was like, I sat there and I followed them and I watched where they were going. He goes, they're coming out of the faucet. Like the faucet's corroded. I'm like, then you need to get some caulking and seal the shit out of that and call the barracks or whoever's in charge because that's disgusting.
Yeah, that's gross.
And then you're going to go get some Tupperware, which he doesn't know what Tupperware is.
What?
They don't call it Tupperware, Laura. It's just like containers, like Pyrex. We had Tupperware and so everything, it's like Q-tips. Everything's Tupperware to me. So I'm like, containers that seal. And you got to put all your shit in there. A lot of kids don't know what, if I call it Tupperware, they're like, what?
Oh.
Because we had
I think maybe I just say it, so they just say it too.
You remember growing up with Tupperware parties?
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't have that anymore. Remember those fucking jugs? They would be like brown and green and yellow, and they had the
Yes. Yeah.
So Tupperware.
Yeah.
You
had to put all your food in.
Oh yeah. So I said all of it has to go in there because that's disgusting. So he's discovering the joys of Hawaii and the downfalls of Hawaii as we speak, which is disgusting. There's no AC in that place. Yeah. It's just screens. That's it. So if it's really hot, it's fans.
Get a fan.
It's fans.
I always loved a fan in the summer.
But I also don't want to sweat my ass off.
I know, but I remember laying there, probably into the 90s, with just the fan going, and like you'd be on your sheets, like on top of your sheets, and like your arms and legs are spread, and you
burnt to shit.
Fan. And like then it'll come back around,
and you're like, oh, there it is. Follow it across the room. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I can remember my 90s with the shorts that came down to the knees.
That was not my 90s.
That was my 90s. Denim shorts. I had a pair that I wore. We were at Myrtle Beach in the 4th of July. Had the flag down each side.
No, nice.
I had my little crop black shirt on. That's when I wasn't at the clubs wearing my overalls with my crop shirt and my boots. And like my girlfriend, again, the one who's really short, we're down there at Myrtle Beach partying the shit out of that place. And we're walking to a club because at the time, there was no boardwalk on the beach at Myrtle Beach. It was all on the beach. Every club was on the beach. So we're shit-faced walking down the beach. And they have the outlets of water that come. I'm 5'8". She's 5'1". So I pull my shorts up. I walk across. Dry as bone. She's like, is it deep? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Up to her nipples. She was not happy with me. Yeah, well, she powered through it. So yeah, do we have anything else for the 90s?
No, I think we've really. We were just like
reminisced enough.
Yeah, I think.
What do you got there? You got some stuff.
It was just like the trends in the 90s.
Besides Zima and the fluorescent colors. I can remember my brother.
Well, I think that's part of it. Is like shopping malls were huge in the 90s. Yeah. Everybody met at the shop. Like
Scribbles.
You hung around at the shopping mall. What? 579.
579. Hit or miss.
I love.
Which is now H&M.
Oh yeah. Then they were saying like it was back like you would play freeze tag. You would play like,
not me in the 90s. I was clubbing.
Yeah, well, like the kids, like you would be outside all the time playing all these games.
Still wasn't phones. Still wasn't really.
No. I got out of someone's car the other day. Like what? There was a car coming. I'm like, game on. Game off. Game on. Like no one knows. The kids don't know what that is.
Like breasts, and they're going for the nodes, and they get those Geiger counter things. When it's off and it's just going pew pew, I'm like, who's playing Atari? This is like an Atari game. Yeah. Nobody laughed because Nobody
one
had
knows
heard
what
of
a
fucking
Atari
Atari.
is.
Yeah.
And then they were saying, fashion trends, bike shorts, huge.
Oh,
which are
huge.
coming back.
Huge.
Neon windbreakers.
Except I could wear bike shorts in the 90s. I wouldn't dare wear them now.
Windbreak-
You wore your windbreaker with the bike
with
shorts.
the bike shorts.
And your rollerblades.
Yes.
And a fanny pack.
And a fanny
fanny
pack.
pack.
And you rollerbladed in that outfit.
I had a fanny pack that was like the primary colors. Like it was
Green and
yellow,
red.
blue. Like I loved that fanny pack. Bandanas, huge. I used to wear a bandana.
Yeah.
Graphic tees, bucket hats.
I never wore a bucket hat in my whole life.
I have a picture of.
I'd look like a dope.
I think Jen was in the bucket hat. I have like a Kangol hat on, and Jen has on a bucket hat, and like
I'd
it's
look like an
1999.
Though Vienna was wearing them not that long. They brought those back too.
Yeah, they're huge. And track jackets, and the track suits.
Yes.
Those are really big.
Yes, like Run DMC tracksuits.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always wore the shell toes. See, now when you were wearing boots with your overalls and the
wearing
house shirt, I
shell
was
toes.
wearing the shell toes with the
No, I was in my combat boots, my full-on boots.
yeah.
Loved those things.
Music of the 90s, grunge, hip hop, rave, boy bands, obviously, and
Raves.
KOTB started
Kids
it.
with those big fucking pants, look like suction cups. Remember?
Oh yeah.
They would wear those. It would look ridiculous, and they'd wear the big platform
Yes.
shoes with them. They were so.
That was the
stupid.
rave, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was so different from the 80s because cable and the internet were
Coming in.
like everywhere.
I can remember driving down Broadway in Revere, and there's a big sign. It was like, call so-and-so or email us at .com. I'm like, what the fuck is this .com shit? Everything was .com. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Well, didn't I find out real quick?
Like everything in the world is
Everything
.com.
is .com now. You know, they don't know what paper is anymore.
I know. When we have to do the paper charts at work, they freak out.
Mhm.
Freak out. I'm like, this is easier. It's just so easy. It's like nothing. You check
I
three
was
things.
walking into work the other day, and I'm passing this shrubbery, and I swear I thought I saw an addressograph card.
Oh my goodness.
It was green, but it
I
was
love
the
that.
tag. Yeah, that's when patients used to come with an actual card, like the old credit cards,
Yeah.
and you had to stamp their paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing at the desk. Remember? Boom.
Yep.
Boom. It
And,
was so
and the
loud.
nursing assistants would bring the patient and stamp your paperwork
Yeah.
for you. Yeah. So I was like, oh,
I
it's
mean,
an
we
address-
were doing that up until about
not that long ago.
12 years ago.
Everything's 5 years ago to
I
me,
know.
so
no,
I
it's
don't know.
more than 5 years, but it was 10, 12 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Like we were still doing that.
Well, we tend to hold on to things
Yes, we do.
longer than most facilities.
Yes.
Much longer
Yeah.
than most facilities.
But it was so much easier. And you had the charge slip, the pathology slip, the record. Like it was the
I'll
same
tell you,
paperwork.
if I could go back to the way it was in 1994, I wouldn't be talking about retiring in 10
Yeah.
years. I would be there forever.
I know.
But it's not.
No.
So I will be out of there in 10 years.
Times are changing.
Times are... God knows where it's going to be in 10 years. They won't even need circulators and scrubs anymore.
No, don't say that. I'll still have like 6 years.
You could go... You can just be a manager somewhere.
Oh, okay.
All right. We'll go work in hospice.
All right.
You
Oh,
won't
no.
wanna do that. I want to
No.
work in
No,
hospice.
I can't do that.
All right, so that's our summer in the 90s. A little different from the summer in the 80s, but hey, the 90s were different than the 80s.
They were.
What can I say?
Yeah.
And we're not even going to talk about the 2000s. I was married by then, and life was getting real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't getting.
Yeah.
It wasn't as fun as the 80s and 90s. So we'll just skip that.
We'll
Maybe
just
we'll do
forget
the
about it.
70s next time.
I wasn't alive for a summer in the 70s.
I was maybe my satin. I was satin in the 70s, satin in the 80s. I love satin. I still love
I
satin.
love
I
satin.
remember going to visit my aunt, and she had satin sheets on the bed. God, I thought I was
She
like
was-
in
yeah.
fucking Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then we laid in them, and you ended up on the floor. Shoom, shoom. I'm like, what is it? I was 8. I'm like, who the fuck sleeps in satin sheets? This is ridiculous. I just kept sliding up the bed like we thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. Like, and then if you're in a satin nightgown,
Yeah.
that's a lot of satin going on. Nobody's getting near you.
No.
P. Diddy's house.
That
and the
might
baby
be like,
oil.
maybe that's a good idea. Maybe they were onto something.
They were onto something. Maybe I'd make
They're
a
like,
little
oh, sorry. Oh, whoops.
Nope, sorry. I slid off the bed. You can't. No, sorry. Maybe I'm going to put satin sheets on today.
Yeah. With a satin nightgown.
With a satin
Yeah.
nightgown. Could you imagine? Because remember that? Like, I can remember
My
mom
naughty
had the-
always
the
wore the
long
satin
nightgowns
nightgowns
with the
and the
matching
robe.
bathrobe. And I'm like, where were you going in
Yeah.
this? Like,
They
I'm
always looked lovely.
they looked lovely,
Yeah.
but it couldn't have been
My naughty
comfortable to
always
sleep
had the
in.
satin
Yeah, they
nightgowns.
always
And we
thought
would
they-
wear
They
them.
thought they were in like Hollywood or something. I
We
don't
would
know.
wear them all the time. And then sometimes if we forgot our bathing suits, we'd go swimming in our bloomers and our bras.
Oh, I wouldn't put on anybody else's bloomers.
Oh, it's
I
my
couldn't do
naughty.
it. Still, it's your naughty.
But they're like the big bloomers.
oh, I know.
Like
My
the-
mother still wears them.
Yeah.
They're like sails on
And
a
we'd
boat.
go swim. We'd all, me, Stacy, Katie, we'd all be in the pool with this bloomers.
Bloomers and bras. All right. That's the kickoff. Enjoy your summer. We're going to be coming back at you with some itching. We're going to be doing a lot of itching in the next episode.
I hate
all right?
that because then I'm itchy all night.
Yeah, we're going to be itching. So enjoy as much as you can of the summer because in New
Yes.
England, it doesn't last long.
Nope.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Like, subscribe, rate, and review the Scissors and Scrubs podcast on whatever podcast app you listen to us on. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Scissors and Scrubs. And email us any of your stories or thoughts to scissorsandscrubs@gmail.com.